Dear brothers and sisters, today I'm actually privileged to react on one of the videos that happened some times back. And this was a time when I was still in the mission, and we were actually teaching one of the brothers to the Attorney General then, that is Attorney General of Kenya, and his brother was one of our investigator during those days. And as we were teaching him about the church, he had a lot of questions. And one time he says that I think after watching President Hinckley actually being interviewed, and there are some things that he was actually explaining on Larry King Live that was in CNN then. And that is when now this brother became a little bit softer, and he accepted to be baptized, which was actually a very, very good thing, because I remember when he was being baptized, a lot of people attended his baptism. And one thing he said is that it was not because of the knowledge that was portrayed, but it is because of the humility that he saw in the missionaries, and that is why he actually accepted to be baptized. So he ended up telling us that he watched an interview, which I think it is this one that we are going to watch. He watched an interview and he listened to how President Hinckley was explaining some of the things as he was being asked by Larry King then. So let me just invite you so that we can watch this live video by President from Larry King Live, that is in CNN, when President Hinckley was being interviewed by Larry King. Otherwise, you're welcome.
This is CNN.
Tonight, a rare live interview with Gordon B. Hinckley, President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Next on Larry King Live. He's one of the distinguished religious leaders in the world. It's an honor to have him as our guest tonight for the full hour. Later, we'll be including your phone calls. He's Gordon Hinckley. Gordon B. Hinckley is president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, commonly known as the Mormons. He is 88 and a half years old.
Correct.
Do you think like maybe retiring?
Oh, no, there's no chance. Got to keep going right to the end.
You're going to go till the calling comes.
Right.
What does the president entail? I've heard it, you called a prophet. Are you when you speak, do you speak for the church?
I speak for the church, yes, I think so. Yes.
And this is a position that you're appointed. How do you get this? How do you get to be president?
You're appointed a member of the Council of 12, and you outlive everybody else. The senior member of the 12 becomes the president of the church.
The council takes turns.
Right.
We'll cover some little bit about the faith and then lots of issues. Why are you a Mormon?
Oh, I believe in it. I believe very strongly in it.
Were you
I come
born
from
into
a Mormon background. I'm the third generation in the church, only the third, from pioneer days. My grandfather came across the plains in a wagon with oxen, and my father was active in the church. I'm here, part of it. As a young man, I went on a mission and came back, and I've moved up through the various steps.
All your life has been in the church?
Yes, because when I came home from my mission, I'd received my bachelor's degree before I went on a mission. That's unusual now, but it was not uncommon then. And when I came back, the heads of the church asked me to come and work there, and I pioneered in the public relations work of the church.
And you're the one taking this church even wider worldwide.
I
than in
hope
the
so.
past, right? What's your goal?
My goal is to move it as fast and as solidly across the world as we can.
How many countries are you in?
161.
Time magazine reported that you have the church has over 10 million members worldwide, right?
Yes, sir.
Half in America.
Yes, approximately.
And it's growing outside as well as inside.
Absolutely, yes.
How about the wealth? Why is your church so wealthy? I mean, at
Because our
$5.9 billion.
Well, I don't know about that figure, but we get along. We have enough to take care of what we need to do. The financial law of the church is the law of tithing. It goes back to the Old Testament.
They give all the church members
10% is expected of our people, and they
the
pay
money,
it faithfully.
And the money is used how? When people hear that much money and they associate it with religion, they often think of, why does a religion, any faith, have to raise funds?
We have to build many buildings. As this church grows, we have to accommodate our people. We'll finish or dedicate 600 new buildings this year. That's a tremendous undertaking. We maintain Brigham Young University, the largest private church-sponsored university in America.
That's your school, right? I mean, you own that school.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we have many other projects, a great family history resource used by people all over the world.
You check the genealogy, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In Israel, they work with you.
If you'd like to know about Larry King Live, we'll probably have a record on you.
I know you have a record on my wife because I married a Mormon, it should be stated.
Well, we have them on not only those in the church, but out of the church as well.
The things current, let's discuss first the president.
Right.
Many religious leaders are now speaking out. In fact, a major church this morning said he should resign. What, President Hinckley, are your thoughts on President Clinton?
Well, I feel very sorry for him in the first place. Here's a man of great talent and capacity who's evidently just hurt himself so seriously that it must be a terrible thing for him. Personally, I forgive him. The Lord has said, I, the Lord, will forgive whom I will forgive. But of you, it's required to forgive all men. And in that sense, I forgive him of any offenses committed against me. But he still has accountability. He's accountable to the Congress. He's accountable to the people of the United States who elected him. He's accountable to God. I believe that. And that's what he must face.
And who determines that accounting?
The Congress of the United States, the House of Representatives, where it will go first. And if they make a judgment there that in the direction of impeachment, then it will go to the Senate.
If the charge, as we've heard it, that with just what he admitted to, obviously that part is true, if that's it, there are some saying he should resign, some saying he shouldn't. Do you think he should leave the post if he has morally impaired it?
Well, let me say that I still believe that right is right and wrong is wrong. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. These aren't suggestions. These are commandments.
It was a fait accompli. It was not
Given by
negotiated.
Jehovah on Sinai. The Ten Commandments. They're as applicable today as they were when they were first given.
Should he then resign, Mr. President?
I think he must make his own decision and the Congress must make their decision.
So when you say you forgive the act?
I forgive
Or
them.
you forgive the actor, not the act?
I forgive the actor as far as I'm concerned. I'm not trying to hold any malice against him or anybody else. I think that's my responsibility to extend the hand of forgiveness and helpfulness. But at the same time, the position of President of the United States of America carries with it a tremendous trust in my judgment, an inescapable trust. I brought with me some words from George Washington, the first inaugural address of 1789. This is what he said. He hoped that the foundations of our national policy will be laid in the pure and immutable principles of private morality, and the preeminence of free government be exemplified by all the attributes which can win the affections of its citizens and command the respect of the world. That's a great statement. Is it asking too much of our public servants to not only make of this nation the greatest nation on earth politically, militarily, but also to give moral leadership to the world?
What do you think it's done to the country?
I think it's fractured the country, for one thing. I see the evidence of that everywhere. As I've listened to your program with various congressmen on, I've said to myself, this is divisive. It's happened, but it's divisive. Let's get the report from Mr. Starr. Let's have the Congress act on it. Let's make a decision. Let's move on.
Are you shocked, as some in the religious field are, that a lot of the public still continues to be in his favor?
Well, I'm surprised. I'm not shocked, I'm surprised. I'm disappointed in a sense because it's my feeling that you cannot divorce private behavior from public leadership.
Can't divorce it.
I don't believe so.
That includes then your private behavior. If you
My private behavior, absolutely.
Is our business.
I have an accountability. I carry a trust that's incumbent upon me. Yes.
We'll be right back with President Gordon B. Hinckley, the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Lots of issues to discuss. Your phone calls, too. Don't go away. In a major front-page story on the Mormons, Time magazine quoted the sociologist Rodney Stark of the University of Washington. He said that in about 82 years, Mormon membership worldwide will be 260 million. What is the attraction?
I won't be around when that prophecy is fulfilled. But
I wouldn't bet on it at 88 and a half. But what attracts people to the faith, those not born of it?
I think several things do. One, we stand for something. We stand solid and strong for something. We don't equivocate. We don't just fuss around over this and that. People are looking for something. In this world of shifting values, of anchors that are slipping, many people are looking for something that they can hold on to, an anchor to which they can attach their lives. That's one thing. Two, we expect things of our people. We expect them to do things. We expect them to measure up to certain standards. It isn't always easy to be a member of this church. It's demanding, but it's wonderfully fruitful and has a tremendous effect upon people.
You require helping people less fortunate, right?
Yes, sir, we do.
Are people ever thrown out of your church?
Yes.
For?
Doing what they shouldn't do, preaching false doctrine, speaking out publicly. They can carry all the opinion they wish within their heads, so to speak. But if they begin to try to persuade others, then they may be called in to a disciplinary council.
All right, now,
we don't excommunicate many, but we do some.
Concerning morality, in the past, the church has had some problems in this area. One was the racial area. The story was that blacks couldn't attain any hierarchy.
Right.
Is that changed?
Yes, it has. In 1978, that was changed. We now work strongly among the blacks. I've been to Africa recently, up and down that continent, meeting with wonderful people, great leaders. All of our local leaders are local people who work on a volunteer basis. None of them is paid.
Could there someday be a black president?
Oh, it could be. It's conceivable, yes.
Just as there could be a black pope someday.
Sure.
So that's all equal.
Yes, all equal.
Now the big story raging in Utah, before we get back to morals and morality, is the big story, if you don't know it, is polygamy in Utah. There's been major charges. The governor, Mike Leavitt, says that there are legal reasons why the state of Utah has not prosecuted alleged polygamists. Leavitt said plural marriage may be protected by the First Amendment. He is the great-great-grandson, is the governor of a polygamist. First, tell me about the church and polygamy. When it started, it allowed it?
When our people came west, they permitted it on a restricted scale.
You could have a certain amount of?
The figures that I have are from between 2% and 5% of our people were involved in it. It was a very limited practice, carefully safeguarded. In 1890, that practice was discontinued. The president of the church, the man who occupied the position which I occupy today, went before the people, said he had prayed about it, worked on it, and had received the Lord a revelation. It was time to stop was to discontinue it. Then, that's 118 years ago. It's behind us.
But when the word is mentioned, when you hear the word, you think Mormon, right? I
mean, you do mistakenly. They have no connection with us whatever. They don't belong to the church. There are actually no Mormon fundamentalists.
Are you surprised that there's apparently a lot of polygamy in Utah?
Well, I've seen the thing grow somewhat. I don't know how large it is. I don't know how pervasive it is.
Should there be arrests?
It's a matter of civil procedure. Church can't do anything. We have no authority in this matter, none whatever.
Would you like to see the state clamp down on it?
I think I leave that entirely in the hands of the civil officers. It's a civil offense. It's in violation of the law. We have nothing to do with it. We're totally distanced. And if the state chooses to move on it, that's a responsibility of civil officers.
But President Hinckley, when the press that pays attention to it, it does affect you, certainly in a public relations sense.
It does, because people mistakenly assume that this church has something to do with it. It has nothing whatever to do with it. It has had nothing to do with it for a very long time. It's outside the realm of our responsibility. These people are not members. Any man or woman who becomes involved in it is excommunicated from the church.
Prosecutors in Utah are quoted as saying, they told the Salt Lake Tribune, that it's difficult to prosecute polygamists because of a lack of evidence, and ex-wives and daughters rarely complain about it.
Well,
Do you see that as a problem?
It's secretive. There's a certain element of secretiveness about it. I suppose they have some difficulty, they say they do, in gathering evidence.
Should the church be more forceful in speaking out? I mean, you're forceful here tonight, but maybe in saying that it's rather than just a state matter, encouraging the state to prosecute.
I don't know. We'll consider that.
I'm giving you an idea.
Yeah,
Would you look better if you were?
I don't know that we would or not. As far as I'm concerned, I have nothing to do with it. It belongs to the civil officers of the state.
You condemn it.
I condemn it, yes, as a practice, because I think it is not doctrinal, it is not legal, and this church takes the position that we will abide by the law. We believe in being subject to kings, presidents, rulers, magistrates, in honoring, obeying, and sustaining the law.
The essence of the church is that Christ was in the Americas, right?
Yes, at one time.
That is the essence of the concept of the church. And that is the Latter-day Saints?
That's one of the elements of it. Now, that's the background out of which comes the Book of Mormon. The Bible is, as I see it, the testament of the Old World. The Book of Mormon is the testament of the New World, and they go hand in testimony of the Lord Jesus Christ.
We'll talk with President Hinckley about the Mormon Church speaking out on great world issues right after this.
So you can see what I wanted just you, my dear brothers and sisters, to see. That was Larry King, and you know, during his days, Larry King was a big show. This show was big, and for people to appear there, it was actually a serious show. And you can see there President Hinckley at 88, but he's still very smart, very sharp in actually answering the questions. And he made it very categorically how the church really is and what the church really believes in, and how the church really is subject to the laws of the land. So that is the church is. So that is what I wanted, my dear brothers and sisters, for you to be able to see that how exactly President Hinckley was able to handle some of these questions very categorically, and he was very clear of the stand of the church and what the church stands for, you know. And during this time also politically, in America, the politics was very hot. You remember, for those who are alive then, you remember the issues of Monica Lewinsky versus President Clinton, what was actually going on. And I think this is also one of the reasons as to why Larry King invited the prophet. And he asked the prophet, what is the stand of the church on this? And I think President Hinckley made it very categorically. And he cleared the airwaves over what the church stands for. And there are also other sects or cults that are calling themselves Mormons, and they exercise or they practice polygamy. And those ones also, the prophet actually clarified that the church is no longer practicing polygamy, because that act was stopped after the revelation of 1978 by President Spencer W. Kimball, and that act was actually stopped. So for those who are still practicing polygamy, those ones they are actually on their own, and in fact they are not members of the church. And any behavior that can be inconsiderate, that it goes against the principles of what the church really teaches. Like, for example, if somebody preaches false doctrine and he tries again to convince members of the church to do so, that one can be subject of disciplinary, and also other things like, breaking chastity and all that we know of as members of the church. So President Hinckley, can you imagine, at 88 years old then, he was still sharp, he was very still categorical, and he could answer the questions very soberly. That one tells you the wisdom and the mind of God behind this man. This man was actually an ordained and a prophet of God who was actually used during his time. And Larry King really loved him so much, because most of the time Larry King will actually invite him to these interviews. Okay, and that was good.
We're back. This is a historic night. We have the president of the Mormon Church as our special guest, and Mark McGuire has bested the all-time home run record, hitting number 62 tonight in St. Louis. We're with the distinguished Gordon B. Hinckley, president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I guess you congratulate Mr. McGuire, too.
I do, most heartily.
Seen a lot of baseball
Great
history
cause
in your
for
life.
celebration.
You were around when
Tremendous.
Ruth was playing.
I was around when Ruth was playing.
Did you ever see Ruth?
No, I never did.
But you knew
We
her.
didn't have television then. But we read about it in the paper. We had a scoreboard on Main Street.
Where? Main Street in
And
Salt
near
Lake?
South Temple, yes.
And they'd
Baseball
put up the
scoreboard,
scores.
yeah. Oh, well, the ball was moved around on the board, and people would stand out there by the hundreds and watch it.
And everyone knew the babe.
Oh, absolutely.
We've discussed Mike Leavitt, the governor of Utah, and that his difficulty in trying some of these cases. The LA Times, New York Times reported widespread reports of girls as young as 10 into arranged marriages and a difficult time dealing with it. Tell us your thoughts about this governor.
Well, the governor is a native of Utah, young man, part of the economy and the insurance business, other things. Grew up there. I know his father and mother well. Know him well. I regard him as a good man doing a good job.
Is this a tough spot for him?
It's a tough spot for him. He's dependent on the county attorneys, the prosecuting attorneys. They have to make the decision on this matter.
Why would they be hesitant, do you think?
No, I don't know. I haven't gone into it. I don't know why. But they are. There are many factors, I think. Gathering of evidence is difficult. What do you do with children and their parents? A very difficult situation to face. It's a hard thing to deal with, but as far as we're concerned, it's behind us. Long ways. We're out moving across the world.
There are splinter groups.
Oh, there are splinter groups.
Off your faith, as they have off many faiths.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. We have some splinter groups.
Why does the church, or maybe I'm in error, not speak, like I've gone to services, and there's no priest or rabbi or minister, but I have not heard a Sunday service that would discuss world poverty, or President Clinton, or what they think of Bosnia. Why?
We don't think much about it, but we act. That's what happens. We've carried on a great humanitarian effort.
Feeding people?
Feeding people, giving them medicine, clothing, food. North Korea, we don't let politics stand in the way of what we do.
You work in North Korea?
Yes, we've just been very helpful there. We've given them a lot of money. We've sent a farmer there, an expert from Canada, to show them how to raise crops.
This is politics aside, then?
Politics aside. The church does not become involved in politics. We don't favor any candidate. We don't permit our buildings to be used for political purposes. We don't favor any party.
But you do speak out?
I think other churches need to learn from this. Especially in my country, Kenya. Other churches need to learn from this, because they've actually turned out their buildings into political platforms. And you find that every Sundays you see it is a politician that preaches for them. and you find a politician will insult other politicians just in the pulpit, which is uncalled for. It is not supposed to be like that. And you can see even the prophet there is really clarifying that our buildings, we do not allow our church buildings to be used for political functions or political reasons. That one is uncalled for. If a politician comes to our church today, he will just sit with other congregants, listen to the gospel. After that, he will leave just like any other congregant. We will not allow them to come into our pulpits and start speaking politics and insulting their opponents. That one is uncalled for because the buildings thereof, they are actually dedicated buildings. And that's why that that behavior or character that most of the churches I see around do. Like every Sunday, you watch the news, you see a certain politician was in this church, and this is what he has said, this is what he threw, this is, that one is uncalled for. And I think Christians need to learn from members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They need to learn how to use their buildings properly, and they should know that those buildings are sanctuaries. Those buildings are sacred. They are not supposed to be used for any other function other than just preaching and imparting the word of God to people who are really seeking for it. But when you start inviting the spirit of politics inside there, then definitely you are diluting the spirituality of your people. And that is not proper. I know this interview is a little bit longer, but I'll just cut it for now because of time. And that is what I just wanted you to see, how President Hinckley was very brilliant and very humble. And you can see also there he's sharing that the church does not involve itself in politics in any way. And you can see even the church is helping North Korea. Okay, it has sent a specialist farmers who are going actually who went there, in fact, to teach the North Koreans how best ways of planting potatoes. Can you imagine? And they took an expert from Canada who was a member of the church and volunteered to go to North Korea to actually train the North Koreans on how to plant, potatoes so that they can increase their food storage and food capability for their nations to produce their own foods. And that is what the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is all about. That is what it is. We are not part and parcel of politics. But what we follow is what the Lord Jesus Christ will do when he will be here on earth. And that is what exactly the church does. You know. Otherwise, thank you very much. And I hope the interview has been a little bit enlightening to you. And if you'll have time, please, you can check that interview at your own free time so that you can get the details of the interview. Otherwise, thank you very much. God bless you and see you next time.